I think just offensively, ball security, that was a huge issue, having 3 turnovers and then the safety where we fumbled the ball. Can't do that against anybody in our league, and definitely not against Oklahoma.
What have you been working on with Allen, like specifically to get him more comfortable in this offense?
Yeah, just more experience, more reps. You can't simulate those live game reps, and he's a young player and had some growing pains on Saturday, but I expect him to be better, learn from it, and move forward.
Have you noticed any players being vocal, like vocal leaders, to help him out in practice or so?
No, I mean, at that position, you're kind of on your own. If you have a bad game, you got to get yourself back up and get back after it. But I talked about it after the game. I didn't have a good plan. We couldn't run the ball. You don't want to throw 60 times against that defense, against that team. And so I put him in a bad spot all game. And I thought he competed really hard. We just have to clean some things up moving forward.
Hey, Coach, how does it happen in the game when you're calling it, where like after the game you can say, okay, we should have run the ball more in the second half, but how does it happen, I guess, in your thought process where you go away from the run so much?
Yeah, I mean, you watch the game. When you're getting in 2nd and 11 every single time you even try to run the ball, that was kind of it. I didn't feel good about anything we were doing, running the football at all. I thought we could get it on the perimeter. I thought we could get some easy throws here and there, but even those became difficult, later, and you got to give their defense and their staff credit, but we just weren't getting anything moving at all, and I didn't think we could handle being in 2nd and long and 3rd and long.
Makes sense. And with Antoine Wesley, it just seems like he's been an elite level all year. Can you speak to what he's done for y'all this year?
He really has, and the defense we played last week, a lot of safeties over the top, which they want to keep that in front of him. And the one opportunity we had, we took a shot and he made a play on the ball. But really proud of his development. He had the injury after spring, rehabbed really hard to come back, and has had a great mentality, great focus, great work ethic, and he's a testament to hard work pays off.
It'd be hard. It's hard not to mention that game 2 years ago. I know you probably already received a lot of questions about it, but just your main takeaway from that amazing offensive performance from both sides.
Yeah, I think just how fortunate you feel to be on a field with that many NFL players on both sides. You look at the names and what they're doing on Sundays right now, and it's incredible. Guys playing at an elite level already early in their careers, and they were all out there on one particular night, all making plays that night.
Are you going to be able to watch the game Sunday, or no, you think?
Probably not. We'll be right back to it, but I'll keep track of it.
Cliff, following up on what you were talking about, the difficulty that you had running the football on Saturday, given that the experience of your offensive line has been one of your strengths or one of your perceived strong points, what does that say about them, and what's your maybe disappointment level like that those guys couldn't create lanes?
Yeah, I mean, I think if you look at what they're doing defensively right now, they're playing just at a really high level, and we still needed to be better, there's no question, but I got to give them a lot of credit. We tried different things and just weren't able to get anything going at all, and probably could have hammered it in there a few more times, but being in 2nd and long and 3rd and long, that was tough on Allen and tough on us, so we were trying to get just balls in space in different ways, screens and some trickeration and different bells and whistles to try and move the football. But I think it says more about their coaching staff and their defensive players. I mean, you saw what they did a couple weeks before to West Virginia and really shutting down their ground game as well. They're playing at a high level and taking away the run.
What about Kyler Murray makes him so dangerous?
I mean, what doesn't, I think, is the question when you look at him. I mean, I watched him, I've said it, from sophomore in high school on. Never seen him have a bad game. Always poised, always in control. He can beat you from the pocket, like a seasoned veteran, and then if he gets out of the pocket, he can scramble and be the fastest player on the field or the quickest player and extend plays and keep his eyes down the field and find guys uncovering down the field. So I don't know how you stop him. Nobody's figured it out in however many years it's been since he started playing quarterback in his lifetime, but he's a tremendous talent.
Is there anything else about Lincoln Riley's offense that's really stood out to you?
Just that he continues to adapt. He does a tremendous job adapting to his personnel, and they lost a bunch of great players last year, but these young guys stepping up are carrying the load, and he's putting those guys in positions to be successful. Each week he game plans new wrinkles and new things, and he's a tremendous offensive mind.
Have you seen a major difference in the way Ruffin kind of runs that defense as opposed to what you saw from Mike?
Yeah, you know, they're playing hard for him. I knew they would. He's when he was here, he was a great mentor for me, you know, a great friend, a great person in my life. Still one of my favorite people in the world, and you know how he makes those kids feel, how he motivates, and they're flying around, playing at a very high level for him, and that's what he gets out of his players.
And then do you ever worry kind of a little bit about guys now trying to overthink tackling with kind of the hits that have caused ejections and have caused personal fouls?
Yeah, I don't think they overthink. I mean, you're going to play, you're going to cut it loose, and I said it, you know, some of those are pretty subjective, and you just got to live with it. You want to coach it as well as you can, hit them below the shoulders and different techniques, but when it's moving that fast and they're moving and you're moving, things happen. But we don't want them to play soft or play timid because of that.
Coach, you've been one of the better Power 5 teams with time of possession this year. When you play a really good offense like Oklahoma, where does that come into the game plan?
Yeah, I mean, you'd love to limit their possessions, no question. I mean, Army did it, but they run a different style of offense than we do. I don't think it'll be like that. But, you know, anytime you can have sustained drives and keep your defense off the field, let them rest against what they have on offense, which is incredible, you'd like to do that.
To Allen, how much does it help him having those receivers on the outside like TJ and Antoine that he could just throw the ball up to? How much does that help his confidence and development as a player?
Yeah, it's huge. You know, those guys are a safety blanket, and when he likes what he sees out there, he gives them a chance, and they're proving him right on a lot of those throws. And so we got to keep working as an offensive unit. We got to be more consistent, but there's a lot of young guys playing for us that have years left to play and just have to keep getting better each week.
Kind of speaking of getting better every week, what have you kind of seen from Kenneth Murray of Oklahoma on their defensive side? Certainly a leader and a guy that can tackle.
I was really impressed with him last year, you know, as a young player stepping in there, and then he's just taking that next step in the progression. He's all over the field. You can see him diagnosing things. The game's really slowed down for him. He's obviously a physical player, but he shows up on tape. He's all over the field, and he's taking the step that as a coach you'd hope he'd take in his second year.
And I know everyone's been talking about the offense, but they certainly have a really good defense. I guess what kind of challenges do they pose, especially with all the athletes they have along with Murray?
Yeah, they're a very talented defense. I think the last couple of weeks you've seen they've held teams under 300 yards a game, and you know their defensive line can get pressure. They can stop the run. They got corners that'll walk down in your face and challenge you, and safeties that'll come up and hit you. And so you know they're as good as anybody will play talent-wise.
And when it comes to the running game with wanting to keep the ball in your end and everything, where is the running game at right now with health of everyone and just where it sits?
Yeah, not very good, you know, judging on our last game. But that's something we've got to get going again. We've had moments where I thought it was pretty good, but last week was non-existent, and we're not built to play that way right now with a true freshman quarterback, and so we got to get better.
Everyone talks about Kyler, and for good reason, but is there a part of that offense that you don't think gets enough exposure that is just as dangerous?
Yeah, I mean, all of them. I mean, the offensive line, Bill does such a tremendous job. They play with an edge, really tough. They're targeted the right way every time. Wide receivers, I mean, Lamb and Brown will play on Sundays, and some other guys will too. The tight end, you know, they lose one of the draft. This kid is going to play on Sundays. Running back crew, you know, had a couple guys hurt, and these two kids step in and are all world. So, I mean, the whole thing, it's as good as you get offensively.
Cliff, what do you see differently on film since of their defense since Ruffin took charge?
You know, it's hard to say. There's a small sample size, but I think at times they've been more. I don't want to say base, but just lining up and playing football. Maybe not trying to disguise things as much, making sure guys know where to be, and then just cutting them loose. And they're playing fast. They're not thinking, and they're flying around. And I think, if anything, that's what I would say is showing up, is them lining up, saying we got really good players and we're going to attack and play things that we know how to play and play fast.
And I know you see guys that you either are familiar with or know pretty often playing in the Big 12, but what will it be like this week? You've touched on Ruffin and obviously Lincoln, Bill Bedenbow, Dennis Simmons, probably more guys that you know on a coaching staff. with OU than just about anybody, right?
Yeah, no doubt. And a lot of those guys, we had some special times here at Texas Tech, and I owe a lot of those guys a lot of credit to helping mentor me and being there for me at tough times and different things in my life and during my college career. And so you're excited to see all the success they're having, and they do a great job. They do it the right way. And, just one time a year you want to beat them. But other than that, you have a great appreciation for what they are and who they are.
Is Trey King healthy and available as far as off the field and everything? Is he available to play this upcoming week?
We're still working through a little bit of a health deal, so I wouldn't say 100%, but we'll see if he's going to be ready or not.
Okay. Was he not available last week, health-wise?
Yeah, it was kind of an in-between deal, and we wanted to be smart with him.
All right. And then the opportunity, obviously, to play a night game at the Jones against a top 10 opponent, just from your perspective, what is that like?
Yeah, just excited for our players, excited for our program, our student body, our fans, our alumni. What a great showcase. It'll be rocking. We take a lot of pride in that home field advantage, and as a program, we need to put our best foot forward and have an awesome night in Jones Stadium and be a great showcase for our entire community.
I know last week was a tough result, but it seems like, at least from the outside, that this team has more resolve. It hung late. It's a close game late. The defense seems better. Is that kind of what y'all are hanging your hat on going in the final third of the season?
I think everybody inside that building knows we can get it done if we play better. Your two losses, you throw three interceptions apiece. You're not going to beat anybody in the Big 12 doing that. So we've got to clean that up. But the fight, the belief, some of the mental toughness is starting to show up, and so it's a fun team to be around. The way they carry themselves and the way they approach each and every day.
Cliff, how do you think Allen handled mentally on Saturday when things were not going well?
Yeah, I thought he was really good. I've said, I watched the guy who's the favorite to be the MVP of the NFL go up there and have a really, really rough day as well. And it really came down to us as an offense not executing the game plan the way we wanted to. We got into a pass-heavy game and put a lot on his shoulders, and they were given different looks. And obviously, he had a couple throws he'd like to have back, but he's a kid who doesn't blink. He got that ball back at the end and expected to go win the game, and it didn't work out, but he'll come back and play better than he has. It's kind of my expectation for him Saturday.
What is Connor Killian's status this week?
We'll see. It'll be a game-time decision.
Essentially, he's a running back that can throw very well. He's incredibly dangerous, and you got to keep him contained at all times. At any point, he can bust out for a big run, and then just like that. Kid's incredibly fast and can accelerate really quickly. So we're gonna have to contain him for sure.
Do you think the defensive line has grown and like going up into that game against Iowa State?
Yes, sir. I think the group's pretty close. I think the D-line room is really close and really competitive. So if we feel any kind of drop off in the play, whether it's the ones or the twos, we try to keep it all at one pace. And everyone's seems to get better at practice and really grinds at practice. And I feel like that's something that kind of shows. Every Saturday is our mentality towards practice and how we try to get better every week.
Eli, do you find yourself having to actively think about where you need to hit somebody when you go up?
You face a lot of good running backs and a lot of good quarterbacks, like I'm saying, or like I said about Kyler Murray. But kind of depends when you come out of the line off a block, where your leverage is and how fast they can make a move in open space. So yeah, you try to play 100 miles an hour, but at the same time you're trying to be very conscious of where you hit a player or where your leverage is on them.
Is there a frustration level that ever grows when you kind of have a couple penalties that don't go your way when it comes to roughing, and you're wondering, what do I need to do?
Oh, absolutely. And that's just it takes a lot of momentum away, especially when it's second and long or third and long and you get a roughing the passer as I did, and it takes a lot of momentum away. And, Iowa State went down to score a touchdown on that drive. So it's something that, that needs to get cleaned up. We got to do a better job as players of trying to play more aware, more conscious, even though, it's full speed for everyone out there. So, yeah, it's something that the defense needs to look at and try to get better at this week, and I think we took a good step today in practice.
Eli, what are the keys for an offense like Oklahoma to get some quick 3 and outs or get them off the field quickly? What's your guys' main focus with that?
Well, first of all, just giving our offense, another chance to get back out on the field. And, like I said earlier, it's momentum. It really helps us and really builds the defense confidence if we can get some quick 3-and-outs, especially against an explosive offense like OU.
Eli, I know everyone's talking about how Allen kind of struggled in that last game, but do you think people forget that he's a true freshman quarterback and he's going to go through those ups and downs?
Absolutely. I mean, he's had incredible success, even up to this point. And to me, I feel like it was his first game that he looked like a freshman. So it is what it is, and Iowa State, give a lot of credit to them. Incredible defense, always scheme it up. I mean, you look at them, they don't allow a lot of points to anyone. So I think he's done pretty well. I think what Pat had 1 touchdown against them, so I feel like, Alan Bowman did, he did pretty well, but maybe it's the first game he looked like a true freshman. But, I think he has an incredible future, and I don't think it's going to stop him at all from continuing his success this season.
Just switching to the other quarterback, Kyler Murray, I know he's their second leading rusher. They still got Trey Sermon, got Brooks as well. Do you kind of feel in a simplistic way, if you kind of slow down their rushing attack, that kind of makes them a little bit one-dimensional in that sense?
Yes, sir. That's a lot of cases. That's our D-line approach. Is we want to stop the run and then earn the right to pass rush. So if you stop the run first and second down, and you got them 3rd and long, it's a pretty obvious passing situation. So yeah, we want to get them in that situation, and we feel pretty confident about that. But like I said, at any point, any player for them can bust off the big play. So we're gonna have to be very conscious of who's on the field and what kind of personnel we have.
You ever played anyone quarterback-wise that reminds you of Kyler, that just looks as smooth as him when in the running game?
If I had to compare him to anyone we've played in the last probably year, I'd probably say the quarterback for University of South Florida. I mean, he was really explosive. His name is I can't think of it right now, but he's an incredible ball player. I know he's at the next level. But yeah, I mean, he, like I said, just like a running back that can throw. I mean, incredible ball player. And we're used to seeing really athletic quarterbacks, as in like Sean Robinson, a lot of guys in the Big 12, but no one with this kind of his quickness is like unseen before. So we gotta be pretty good at containing him, and I mean, it all starts this week and how we execute this week and preparing for him.
Anything else for Eli?
Eli, what kind of guy is Tony Jones, and how have you seen him grow from last year to this year?
Tony Jones, excellent tackler in the open space. I mean, he's always flying around. It seems like he's always by the ball, and I swear the ball always bounces to this guy. I mean, whether it's a fumbled snap or something, it's just going to bounce to number 9. So Tony, he's a great ball player. He's a great effort guy. He's going to chase down anyone with the ball, and he flies around. He's got quite a bit of sacks this year, I believe about 4 or so. So yeah, I mean, he's really been getting after it, and really happy to see him have some success.
We expected him to play, at least there'd be one game that he came out that way. He's still young. He had a lot to learn from, especially I think he took a lot of stuff from it and gained some experience from what he faced.
Was there anything you said specifically to him, being one of the older guys on the team, one of the leaders?
I just told him to move on from it. I told him it was going to happen eventually. As a year freshman, somebody is going to come out and get you at one point.
What have you seen differently from Oklahoma's secondary over the last couple of weeks since they switched to Ruffin, if anything?
I think they simplified more things in their secondary. They don't do as much crazy stuff as they were in the beginning of the season with the other DC. I guess they're more base now, you could say.
Cliff kind of puts it on himself and says he doesn't put y'all in position to be successful. What does he mean by that?
I mean, as a player, I mean, it's our job to go out there and execute the plays. No matter what he says, I mean, we know what we're supposed to do and what's our responsibility. I mean, they gave us the plan during the week to go out there and execute. So when we fail to do that, you see what happens. So.
Kind of following up on that, he says that he needs to be able to give you guys plays that you can actually execute. Do you feel as though with Coach being a coach and his football IQ kind of being up there, when you get on the field, it is harder to execute maybe some of the plays that he comes up for that week?
I'd say probably the first time we ever rep them, there can be complex at times when you got to get down the timing and everything. But whenever you get out all the wrinkles and everything, I think they become easy to execute. Just, I mean, when you get different defensive looks, you never know what can happen. So,
mentioned how time possession is big for you guys, keeping them off the field, limiting their possessions. As a part of the offense, how do you see that as a weapon for you? How do you guys implement that?
I mean, we keep them off the field. I mean, they ain't scoring points, and we're scoring more points, so it's easier to control what they're doing on our side, even though we're not on the field when they are. So.
Anything else?
Jody, I'm talking about how often y'all rep stuff and getting the game plan. How many times last week did y'all rep that play that was kind of the little flea flicker, the toss back to Allen? I think Allen completed it to you, if I remember correctly.
Couldn't give you an exact number. I know we did it in every walkthrough we did, and during practice maybe twice, but we repped it a lot during walkthroughs. So. Yeah, we knew it was going to be called eventually. Nah, it's like the game week thing. They don't really rep them back whenever we're prepping in fall camp. It's just what happens that week.
Offense and kind of leaves Oklahoma's defense kind of on the doormat. But is there something they do that kind of they don't get enough credit for? Defensively? Is there something Oklahoma's defense does that they don't get enough credit for? Because obviously everyone's going to talk about their offense and not as much about their defense.
I mean, this far, I think they've done a good job to get where they are. I mean, I haven't seen much film on what they've been doing. I've seen what they run in certain coverages and certain formations, but I couldn't tell you from the beginning of the season. I mean, they're doing pretty well in the Big 12 and in the nation, so you can't really argue what they're doing on that side of the ball.
This Tech offense is built for those long, sustained drives, or usually breaking the big one to go down the field and score?
I think we're built for both. I mean, we can sustain drives. We've shown that. We proved that. I mean, people doubted what we could do early in the season, and we came out and showed them what we could do.